that depends on the courts being backed up with just the huge amount of foreclosure suits out there. That depends on the lender's attorney. If the lender uses one of the big foreclosure mills, it'll just likely take a while. In recent times, because the lenders virtually stopped doing foreclosure suits from October 2010 to about July of this year, the lenders really just turned off the faucet and stopped filing new suits. They were figuring out, gee, we got caught filing a bunch of false documents in these foreclosure suits, so let's retool and figure out a better way to do this. Any number of factors, or maybe the person hired me or someone like me to twist the lender's arm. My goal isn't to delay. In fact, as a Florida licensed attorney, you cannot have a goal of exclusively to delay. My goal, my clients have to select avoid deficiency or loan mod. Those are the only two valid things that you can do. A side effect of aggressively defending the suit is delay, because the lenders really don't know how to cope with someone like me. Actually, you're absolutely right, and you see that. In fact, I have a number of clients where we've entered into an agreement where we said, look, we'll agree to a final judgment. Here's a joint stipulation. Whenever you want to enter a judgment and take the house, that's great, lender, here you go. And the lender agrees to cancel my client's debt entirely. I have some of those people that we agreed to that 1.5 years ago, and the lender has still never set a sale date. It's just out there, and they're just living in the house. And part of that is because the lender either can't take the loss, or maybe the loan was sold to a new lender, or maybe it was sold twice during that period, and the new lender really hasn't even looked at it yet. But a lot of that, I would argue, is also solvency management. Lenders are pushing sale dates, or doing whatever they can in that solvency management box. That was great. A certain percentage of my clients have their loan is sold partway through the foreclosure. Oftentimes that's good because whoever buys the delinquent loan probably paid 40 cents on the dollar, and that gives them a lot of flexibility in how they resolve that. Mostly when a loan sells, let's say halfway through a foreclosure suit, the purchaser paid such a relatively small amount, that makes a short sale much more likely. For most of my clients that do short sales, they're in the position of, I'm fine however it resolves. We'll agree to a final judgment of foreclosure. We'll agree to a short sale. All I care about is that deficiency waiver. Lender, agree to cancel my debt. I'll do whatever you want. So it's good to probably give, from the individual client's perspective, both your clients and mine, it's probably good to give the lender a broad range of potential things or outcomes that the lender could select from. But it's anybody's guess as to why they pick one or the other. In the 1990s, when I worked at Ocwen, we would buy stuff that was in foreclosure all the time for 40, 50 cents on the dollar. In this market, there's a lot of other companies out there that are probably buying it for 30 cents on the dollar. When I was at Ocwen, and what's interesting to me is we had companies like, some of you may be familiar with Cargill. Cargill is probably the largest private company in the world. Huge operations worldwide. Well, Cargill, they primarily deal in grain, feeds. They had a whole separate huge arm that went out and bought bad loans to make money. And they were one of our key competitors. There's huge money out there. I would argue hundreds of billions of dollars waiting on the sideline to come in and buy up some of this stuff and help us get through it as a nation. But the problem is, and if I was sitting on 100 billion, I would keep it in my pocket now because the government still hasn't taken a position. If the government would just take a position and say, look, we're not helping you guys anymore, then all of a sudden it would change the dynamic. But because the government keeps taking different positions, and now it seems like all the government's going to do, the government, to me, and I know a couple guys that are really smart and can write large checks if they wanted to buy those loans. They're saying that the government now has a goal of reducing the whole banking community down to like 10 or 12 banks. That to me seems like the goal, or to them seems like the goal, that they just want to eliminate everything, reduce it down, and that's a scary proposition. But some of the guys that I know that are a lot smarter than I, that's what they say, that's where we're heading. My business partner was telling me he read a statistic that it was like 50,000 or something. I think that's a little silly. That's like all the costs and like lost revenue. Realistically, the lender probably pays their attorney $2,500, $3,000 in legal fees. Probably pays $2,000 in filing costs on the average suit. So it's really almost de minimis. The huge factor is the time. If it's going to take a year to foreclose or 2 years to foreclose, how much interest could the bank otherwise be making during that time period? Like that's the major portion of the loss. And when you add up that interest, maybe you do get close to a $50,000 kind of number. I would say the expenses are minimal. However, if the lenders would actually fully respond to the kind of stuff that I throw at them, it would be a lot. You know, my guess is $10,000 just to respond to my first round of stuff that I send their way.